What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with the Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. Get this. Bo Mack, the trainer of Terrence Crawford, states that when Bud beats his ass, they gonna move the goalpost. Blah, blah, blah at this point. Brian McIntyre isn't expecting much in terms of respect when it comes to his fighter, Terrence Crawford. For years on end, Bo Mack has sat back and watched Crawford has destroyed countless world titles of people, making some of the boxing elite look very much ordinary, yet becoming a three-division world champion, including an undisputed run at 140, has only resulted in Crawford being lambasted left and right. By and large, both Bo Mack and Crawford, and Crawford is 39-0 with 30 KOs, have ignored the critics, but come July 29th, the highest praise could be headed in their direction if everything goes according to plan. On the night, the WBO welterweight titleist will put it all on the line, and when he takes on the IBF, the WBA, and the WBC, 147-pound champion Errol Spence. Spence's pedigree and violent fighting style has been lauded by just about everyone in the boxing circles, but despite being fully aware that defeating Spence will be an uphill battle, doing so would be the fastest way for Crawford to earn his respect once and for all. As Bo Mack continues to push Crawford during training camp, the world-renowned trainer becomes a bit despondent, although on paper a win over Spence should shut his critics up for good. Bo Mack isn't banking on that. In fact, in his view, once the dust clears and Crawford walks away with all of the welterweight jewelry, Bo Mack has a hunch that most will find a way to discredit Crawford's latest achievement. He said, "I bet you this," said Bo Mack during a recent interview. He said, "When Bud beats his ass, there's going to be an excuse. They're going to move the goalpost back a little bit further. They're going to come up with something. Just watch." Those are the words of Brian Bo Mack McIntyre. And let me counterpunch. I believe so. I believe Terrence Crawford is going to stop Errol Spence late. Does Errol have a chance? Sure he does, because he's a hell of a fighter. But I think Terrence Crawford is going to make the proper adjustments to either knock out Errol Spence or to hurt him to the point, of knocking him down for the first time. I don't think Errol Spence ever been knocked down. And I think what will happen when that happens, when Terrence Crawford does that, everybody that hates Terrence Crawford is going to say Errol Spence wasn't the same, just like they did about Shawn Porter. We've already seen this. See, Shawn Porter's supposed to have been the biggest matchup for Terrence Crawford because that was a guy that pretty much fought every guy at the PBC, from Keith Thurman to Errol Spence to Kell Brook to Danny Garcia. He has a countless resume, okay? That's Shawn Showtime Porter. And when Shawn Porter was fighting Terrence Crawford, you had ESPN people over here. You had PBC Showtime people over here. They were all in attendance. You know why? Because they were waiting to see what Shawn Porter did with Terrence Crawford. If they thought he was that behind the heel, they wouldn't be interested to show up like they did. They did. And Shawn Porter proved and showed, like he always does. He shows up and he shows out because his name is Showtime for a reason. He goes in there and he gets with that other fighter. Win, lose, or draw, he's coming for you. If you beat Terrence or Shawn Porter in a fight, it's going to be close, and you're going to have some bumps and bruises and something to remember Shawn Porter by. That ain't going to be anybody's walk in the park. Okay? Anybody. You can ask Errol, you can ask Thurman, you can ask Spence. But I think what happens when Terrence does that, they're going to look for an excuse. They're going to find one. They're going to find an excuse. That's exactly what they do. That's what they do. Find an excuse. Oh man, it was the car accident. There was some excuses. Oh man, he ain't the same, man. Since he's been in recovery, he ain't been drinking. So that's an excuse. Oh man, you know what? He had those teeth made. So I think that's an excuse. He's just not the same fighter. Because again, they said the same thing about Shawn Porter. He is not the same fighter. And since he wasn't the same fighter, in their eyes, or that sounds good coming off your tongue, that's the type of stuff that they're going to create. How good is Terrence Crawford really? He just whooped an undisputed guy's ass, another one. He's done that countless times. He snatched a lot of O's from people, but nobody would have been able to snatch his. So let's see if Bo Mack is right about that night of July 29th. If Terrence Crawford beats Errol Spence, will they look for excuses? What excuses would you think you would hear from people that are making them? Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!